Are you a mental health practice owner juggling the complexities of running your practice? Meet Admira, a CRM and operations software solution designed to simplify your day to day workflows and streamline your operations. Admira makes managing your practice easier by simplifying referral management, client onboarding and communication, and other essential tasks. With customizable workflows, email templates, and automation tools, Admira helps you run your group practice more efficiently. Plus, it integrates seamlessly with your email platform, website, and EHR system, bringing everything together in one place to save you time and reduce errors. Ready to transform the way you work? Visit admira.com to learn more. That's ADMIRRA.com to learn more. You can sign up for a free 30-day trial or schedule your free demo today. Admira.com. This is the Practice of the Practice podcast with Joe Sanok, session number 1197. I'm Joe Sanok, your host, and welcome to the Practice of the Practice podcast, where we are helping you build a private practice that is thriving, that you absolutely love. We want to make sure that you have a thriving practice, that you're not just limping along, that you have the clients coming in, that the money's working, the market is working, that kind of all those different aspects of your private practice. But then we also want you to love it. There's so many ways in the world to make money. We shouldn't hate the way that we make money, at least in my opinion. So that's where we want to help you look at that lifestyle side. Are you burning out? I mean, even just recently, I was talking to one of my consulting clients, and the guy's killing it. I mean, making so much money, and he doesn't even have a group practice, charging like $400 or $500 an hour, but working like 50 hours a week. He doesn't see his family. He doesn't even have time to go to the lake house that they have that he probably, for all I know, paid cash for. So we work on, okay, how do we increase your profits or sustain those profits, or maybe even sometimes take a dip and say, what's actually the life that you want to live? And do you need that much money? And sometimes it is like you're in a spot where you may have kids in college, or you may have other things that, medical debt or whatever. But we want to intentionally think through how we're living our lives and how we're running our businesses. So that's what we do in consulting over at practiceofthepractice.com/apply, or in our membership communities. We have these conversations all the time. So if you have not checked those out, head on over to Practice of the Practice. We have a lot of ways that we can support you in small group communities, in individual consulting, and some of the trainings that we have. Now, I am super excited today. We have Vance Morris with us, and Vance helps business owners get, serve, and keep clients for life through creating experiences and response required marketing. He's a former birth control factory security guard turned Disney leader, turned bankrupt out of work executive, turned carpet cleaner, turned successful entrepreneur. So this guy has lived some customer and business experience. So Vance, welcome to the Practice of Practice podcast.
I appreciate it, Joe. Thanks so much. I probably can guarantee you and your audience I am the only former birth control factory security guard you're going to run into today.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. If I run into another, my mind will be blown. So
yes,
I am about to get on it. I am about to get on an airplane, and you never know who you're going to sit next to. So we'll see. I'll just ask the person if they were a birth control security guard, and they'll be like, "What are you talking about?" Well, you've had a lot of different experiences in your work world, job world. When you think about user experience, I think right in your bio, I'm sure some people are like customers for life. That goes against therapists, like kind of point of view. Like if people don't need therapy, we should just let them leave and go. How do you think through? Let's just start with that customer for life. Like, what does that mean to you?
Sure. I mean, you can certainly define it as maybe a customer lifetime. A lot of times in the marketing world, you'll talk about lifetime value. And certainly if there's an end to the therapy, I mean, if you're going to, whether it be family therapy or, a broken arm and you're done with your physical therapy, there is an end. But I look at it like lifetime of the customer is, well, what are the other opportunities? What are the opportunities for referrals? What are the opportunities for other programs, other systems, other things that you might have to offer that they might not be thinking about or need at this moment in time? So, you don't want them running away and looking, on Google, or, well, they don't use the yellow pages anymore, but you don't want them Googling things that, um, and then, or coming back to you, and they're telling you, oh yeah, we had this great women's retreat last weekend, and then you saying, well, I do women's retreat, and then they'll say, well, I didn't know that. So yeah, you want to do what you have to do and what you can do, to maintain those relationships, and I do call them customers for life.
Yeah. Well, I think there's sort of like an acquisition of new clients. There's the client experience, and then there's client retention. And so there's kind of these three different phases that clients go through. Let's start with client acquisition. What do most people do wrong when it comes to trying to attract the right clients into their private practice?
They chase them.
Mm,
Nobody likes to be chased. I mean, and this goes all the way back to caveman times. Grog would go out with his club and whack Velma or something and drag her back to the cave. Nobody likes to be chased. What you want to become is attractive and be able to attract people to your practice. And we do that through special offers. We do that through education. We do that through becoming a celebrity. There's all sorts of different strategies, but we certainly do it through referrals. But when you chase somebody, you look desperate, and it's not appealing, and people don't like it. I mean, none of us like to be chased. I mean, think of when you were dating. I mean, you probably got more dates when you weren't looking for somebody than when you were, bar hopping and trying to find somebody.
mm. Now, you said being a celebrity impacts your ability to attract new clients. Tell me more about that.
Sure. I mean, we should all in our industries and niches, um, trying to become the celebrity, the authority, and the expert in our niche is really vital for separating ourselves from everybody else. I hate to break it to everybody. We are in highly commoditized businesses. I mean, a dentist is a dentist is a dentist. A cleaner is a cleaner is a cleaner. I mean, there's only so many ways you can clean teeth. So how do you separate one dentist from the next? Certainly, that is the experience that they provide. But did one dentist write the book on pediatric dentistry and how children can regain their confidence in five easy steps, and have literally written the book on that? Now they're seen as the authority. They've got a certain amount of celebrity because they've written a book, and they're also obviously viewed as the expert. Anybody could have written that book, but one person decided to do that. And if you look at our society these days and look where we place our value, we place it on entertainment. Okay, we place it on celebrities. I mean, look at what we pay a public school teacher versus what we pay a Hollywood movie star. All
Mm.
right. We love entertainment. We love entertainers. So, well, we might as well be one, because that's where people are looking. So, yeah, we do want to have that kind of celebrity status, getting our name in the newspaper, getting our name, on the local TV or a local radio show. Those are all things that are contributing to our credibility, and our celebrity status.
Man, I remember when I first started my counseling practice here in Traverse City, I was working as a full-time foster care supervisor and then had this side gig counseling practice with probably one or two clients at that point. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm sure every therapist in town wants to be on local radio. And I had a chance through a nonprofit that I was connected with to go talk about just one of the events that they were doing from kind of a psychological perspective. So they invited me to just kind of go on the radio for that. And then after the show, I pitched this lady, Mary, about just, hey, if you ever want another therapist to come in, here are some ideas that I have. And she said, well, why don't you just email me those? So I wrote probably 5 different ideas and said, 5 things your teens are doing that most parents don't know. And they're all very like kind of clickbait worthy. And she's like, oh my gosh, I want you to do all these. Will you come in every Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. for the drive-in radio show? We'll do like Therapy Tuesday and we'll just go through this list. And for years, I was on this morning radio show every Tuesday. And I just thought, I'm brand new to town. Like, I mean, I was raised here, but it was
Right.
like from a professional standpoint, I was brand new. My practice had 1 or 2 clients. Like, I did not have the big practice in town. Nobody knew me. I even had therapists say, don't move here. We're counselor saturated. But nobody was on local radio. And then that opened up that I ended up doing a noontime radio thing. And by the time my practice had, 13 clinicians, whenever I had a new clinician that joined the practice, I always brought them to the radio station and said, we're going to talk. This person's expert today. So, Steve's really good with complex family situations. And I'd give the host a heads up. That was a game changer for my practice in regards to just being known locally. That and even just writing for the local newspaper once a month in the opinion section, having them, they didn't even pay me for it, but it was like, I'm going to give just some parenting advice. All these grandmas would like clip it out and hand it to their kids. And people thought that I did it more than once a month. But they would say, I read your article. I loved that. It's so practical. And it's stuff we talk about in therapy all the time, where it's like, being consistent with your kids or having them get their clothes out the night before so you're not stressed out in the morning, things that are just very like no duh to most therapists. But to the average person, you're all of a sudden a local celebrity and there's just not people doing that. So I love that you put your finger on that right away.
Yeah, no, and it's true. I mean, it's people look up to those kinds, and it is, and as you pointed out, it's so easy to do. I mean,
It's so easy.
because people think it's difficult.
Yeah, and when you get a caller that's just like a jerk and you put them in their place where they're like, well, blah, 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 I think you should be able to spank and hit your kid or whatever nonsense they're saying, to just be like, you know what, you can have that opinion, but you're just wrong in regards to what the research says and what the practices say around like attachment and
Right.
love, and to just kind of own these people and just be like, listen, like, I mean, to do a little more of the talk show side of things, to me was just like a fun, just mental challenge. Now I want to move into the client experience. Now, I feel like a lot of times this is where therapists really drop the ball. It's like, maybe they've improved some of their intake processes. They have a calendar on their website instead of just a contact us form. They finally get people in, but then it's like they're coming to therapy and they don't really think about the client experience after the intake. What would you say most therapists screw up, or what most businesses screw up when it comes to thinking through the client experience once they're already a client?
Yeah, well, I mean, especially for a first-time client, the onboarding process certainly has a lot to be desired for many. I always encourage people to create what I call like a shock and awe package or a wow experience when you're onboarding, kind of like a big welcome to the family package. And I mean, it doesn't have to be extravagant, but depending on your pricing structure or your lifetime value, you may want to do that. But it's a nice big welcome kit to the practice, and inside of it might be some books that you've written, or maybe a workbook that you might need for the therapy sessions. You could have pens in there, DVDs, all sorts of stuff that really makes maybe even some swag, stuff that makes them really feel welcome, stuff that makes it feel like you were expecting them. There's nothing worse than going to like your first appointment or your first day on the job, and people are like, "Oh crap, oh, you're starting today, all right," and they all scramble and try to get you set up. I mean, it's a horrible feeling. So certainly your onboarding process, and then two, your in-office experience, some is ignored by so many. And it starts with your front desk person, who I affectionately call Marge. And is your Marge trained to be a welcoming, hospitable person? So many places I walk into, Marge is behind the front desk, and the front desk is like this giant, 5 foot tall barrier between Marge and you. And Marge is short, so you can only see like the top of her head. And she doesn't say anything when you come in, and you kind of have to walk over to the desk and look down into the pit that Marge is sitting in. And she kind of looks up to you, and there's really no words exchanged. And you say, well, hi, I'm Vance. I'm here for my appointment. That's horrible. I mean, that is not the way we should be greeting people, and you're not setting the stage for any type of longevity. You're certainly not in a welcoming environment. Instead, do you have a script? Do you have a process that says when you hear the front door open up, does Marge stand up so that you can at least see her and greet the person? Or better yet, does Marge walk around the front desk and greet the person as they're coming in and say, "Oh my God, you must be Vance. This is your first appointment. Welcome to the practice. We've got a few forms for you to fill out, but we've already done as much as we can based on the information you got. Here we have a nice Nespresso machine over here. Why don't you go ahead and make yourself your favorite coffees? Sit down over here, and we'll have you fill out these forms quickly." Now, I mean, which experience would you rather have?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like to know that you're welcomed. The idea of having a welcome pack or having some sort of way that people are welcomed into that already stressful experience. Even having the intake paperwork done ahead of time and having the session start on time and knowing where to go. I think so many people have virtual assistants now. They don't even have a Marge behind the desk. And so making it very clear, like even with like a video walkthrough of like, hey, you're going to walk into the building here. You can take the elevator or the stairs. Here's what it looks like those little
Yep.
touches that make someone feel like I know what's going to happen. Like even I said, I'm about to fly out. So we're flying into Chicago, then going on vacation after that. But we're spending the night in Chicago at one of those hotels that's like at the airport, in the airport. And I hadn't done that before. It's always like you get your luggage, you go get in a van, or then you like go 5 minutes away, but it takes like 2 hours to get there from the 10-minute away airport. And so I called them last night and just was like, do we get our luggage? Where do we go? And it would have been great if they had just said, like, okay, you're staying in the airport. Here's how this works. It would have made it a little less stressful. It's like, do I need to, like, do they keep my luggage overnight? Like, I just
Yep.
hadn't stayed at one that was like in the airport. So I think the more that we can just prep people, we forget how nerve wracking like a first counseling session will be. As a therapist, I can tell you from experience that having the right EHR is an absolute lifeline. I recommend using Therapy Notes. They make billing, scheduling, note taking, telehealth, and e prescribe incredibly easy. Best of all, they offer live telephone support that's available 7 days a week. You don't have to take my word for it. Do your own research and see for yourself. Therapy Notes is the #1 highest rated EHR system available today, with a 4.9 out of 5 stars on trustpilot.com and on Google. All you have to do is click the link below or type promo code Joe on their website over at therapynotes.com and receive a special 2-month trial absolutely free. Again, that's therapynotes.com and use promo code Joe on the website. If you're coming from another EHR, Therapy Notes will also import your demographic data quick and easy at no cost, so you can get started right away. Trust me, don't waste any more of your time and try Therapy Notes. Just use promo code Joe at checkout. Now, what about ongoing? So people, they've got clients that are coming, half a year, 5 years. Like, what should they be doing throughout that time to enhance the client experience? And I'm glad you said right at the top, we're not keeping people longer than what they need, but we're maybe missing opportunities for giving them things they need. So during that experience, what are some things that therapists can be thinking about in regards to that client experience?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, certainly, obviously, in office, there are myriad of things that can be done. And one thing I want to bring up before I forget is something that we call anticipatory service. And this goes straight to your luggage scenario. Is that if you anticipate that this question is going to come up, or that there's a scenario. I'll give you a quick example. So let's say it's a really hot day out and you're going to your favorite restaurant. You go in, you sit down, you ask for a glass of water, and they say no. We would consider that to be bad service. And then if we say same hot day, you go in and you ask for a glass of water, they bring it, we would say that was adequate service. But let's say we go in, same hot day, you walk into the restaurant and they're standing at the host stand is a server with a little tray with both sparkling and still water saying, hey, we know it's hot outside. Would you like a bottle of water before we bring it to your table? That's anticipating that somebody is going to ask for something. So if you can anticipate that people are going, I mean, you're probably not the first one to ask about luggage. If you can anticipate that somebody's going to ask about something, can you intercept that and proactively answer the question or provide the service before people ask? Now you're really showing off. You're really going the extra mile, and you're creating that experience. I think that especially when you are seeing people with great frequency, like certainly with therapy, childcare centers, and things of that nature. Sometimes it's difficult because you do see them with frequency, but to have, and as tchotchke as it sounds, for lack of a better word, having little theme weeks where you just say, hey, you know what, it's national, I don't know, National Kiss Your Mother-in-Law Week, and then you could just have some little fun stuff in the office. It doesn't have to be expensive, but it's just keeping it fresh and keeping it a little bit different, keeping it light. Again, going back to the whole entertainment thing, at the end of any interaction with the business, we want people to go away and actually say, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened at, and then insert your profession here. And that's why I own, I own a number of home service businesses. And one of them is a carpet cleaning business. And we actually, when we go to a customer's home for the first time, we present them with a gift. And I don't know about you, but when was the last time you had a home service person come to your house, like a home inspector, plumber, electrician, etc., give you a gift before they did any work? I'm going to probably hazard a guess it hasn't happened.
Right.
So we give this gift, and I mean, it's nothing extravagant, but it's a bottle of spot remover, a little bag of cookies, and a note from me saying thank you for allowing us into your home, which usually prompts that discussion. They'll sit down at the dinner table and they'll say, oh my God, you'll never guess what the carpet cleaner did today. He brought me a gift. So we want to elicit that reaction from everybody that we come in contact with. So if you look at it through that lens of what can we do, it's simple. I mean, you just look for little things that can elicit that response. Oh my God, you'll never get. I mean, the therapist had, it was, St. Patrick's Day, and he was dressed as a leprechaun. It's stuff that's that easy and certainly doesn't cost much.
Yeah. So when we think about kind of going to that next level of retention, one thing we often talk about is the sandwich approach, with kind of therapy being the inside of the sandwich. But then on one side, what do people need before therapy, before they're ready? So that could be blog posts, it could be free e-courses or paid e-courses. It could be, groups that before they even know that they need therapy that you're offering. Then you have therapy. But then I think the part that people often miss is, what are other upselling services that people can offer after people are done and have completed their one-on-one therapy? And so, I work with a ton of consulting clients, and so do our consultants, that, they're looking at, moving some of their caseload off of insurance, taking insurance, or they're looking at raising their rates, or, being more effective with their time. And to just say, well, okay, maybe some of these folks could go into a group, or maybe some of these folks could go into a quarterly retreat that you offer, or it could be some sort of intensive that you do for couples. When you think about retention and kind of the longevity of a client and the opportunity to keep serving them, but when they're maybe done with weekly or every other week counseling, like what comes to mind for you around that?
Yeah, certainly. So I am a firm believer in creating engagement um, with my customers, and certainly in something as intimate as therapy. You've already started that process. So after the sessions have completed, you probably want to continue that engagement. Obviously, not in a therapy session, but you want to continue that engagement. Um, and I am a firm believer in the mail, direct mail. You know, the stuff that the U.S. Postal Service delivers. Um, and so I've created a 3-step, very simple process for creating what I call customers for life. The first step is a print newsletter. Now, people will say, oh my God, mail is dead, print is dead. And I would argue that it is not. One, the Postal Service has a better deliverability rate than any email service provider out there. They're still at like 99%. Say what you will about them. And there's no competition in the mailbox. I mean, there's, the odd bill might be in there and there might be a catalog, but there's nothing in the mailbox anymore. So the competition is a lot lower. And when I say a newsletter, this is, I would consider it something along the lines of Reader's Digest Light. It is an entertainment piece. It is an engagement piece, something where you continue the emotional connection that you have with the customer. For example, like I shamelessly use my children in my marketing, but my customers have watched my children grow up through my newsletter. For example, my daughter, she's 17 now, but she used to do ballet. And every year I'd take a picture of her in her tutu at her recital, and I would put the picture in my newsletter. And we were in the grocery store one year when she was, I don't know, she was 10 or 11 years old. And we had this lady run up to us, and she didn't even come up to me. She came up to my daughter. She goes, oh my God, Emma, how was your recital? And I was like, and we were ready to go run and hide in the frozen food section. And I had to think, this is one of my customers. I've created an emotional connection with her. She's never leaving me unless I royally screw up. And now I realize also that, my kids have thousands of aunts and uncles out there because of this connection. And so the newsletter is designed not to sell, but to maintain this connection. Now, you don't have to use your kids, but telling stories about your dog or your vacation, or, put a Sudoku puzzle in there, a recipe, things like that. But it is a means of communication to maintain the connections that you've created. And then I like to throw in a promotion because the whole design of this thing is obviously to sell something. And I save that and you can do this monthly or every other month, depending on what you have in your practice. And so I usually save that for a postcard. And that'll get sent out monthly or every other month. It'll have a promotion on it. Say, hey, in a couple of months we're going to be doing a women's retreat in Sedona, California. Scan this QR code or call for details, which is again a great opportunity. See, with customers that you already have, they are the easiest people to sell to again because they already know, like, and trust you. They've already been through all of your therapy and they've been through your sessions. They've already given you money. So they're used to giving you money. New people are not. They hold on to their checkbook or their wallet a lot tighter than somebody who's already been with you for a number of years or a number of months. And then the third step to the system is a frequent email. And that's essentially the combination of the newsletter. So the body of the email would be some kind of story. And then the PS would be some kind of offer. And if you can do that, one, you stay top of mind. Two, you become highly referable. So maybe you're not completely selling something again and again to these folks, but now you've got a referral engine that when these people come in contact with a couple that's having marriage problems, maybe they have an ADHD kid or whatever, they'll now be able to say, "Oh my God, yeah, Dr. Fred. I just read his newsletter last week. Hey, you need to call Dr. Fred." So there's all sorts of different strategies and tactics to use within those three elements for referrals, upsells, cross sells, etc. And the cool thing about this, and we'll talk about the money aspect, is that it is ridiculously inexpensive to market to your existing customers. A new customer is one of the most expensive things you can do. It's probably 5 to 10 times more expensive than marketing to your existing customers. For example, my carpet cleaning business cost me $133 to get a new lead. Now, that is not cheap. Last year, cost me $22 for the entire year to market to my existing customers. $22 per customer. I would do that all day long.
Mm. I'm taking a bunch of notes because when I think about one-on-one consulting or the Practice Academy, all these different things that we've offered, we mostly focused on our email list. And to think about, are there people that, are within our communities that already, are giving us money, and to send them something in the mail, that's a much smaller lift than sending it to, 2 or 3 thousand people that maybe we have their emails and their addresses. So I love that idea of like marketing with direct mail to your own customers. Vance, the final question I always ask is, if every private practitioner in the world were listening right now, what would you want them to know?
It's a piece of advice I give my consultant clients, my group coaching clients, and I would certainly give to your listeners is pick one thing that you heard today. Just pick one thing and implement it, because you won't profit unless you implement. And that is something I learned a long time ago, is just, if you don't try something, if you don't do something, well, you're not going to have any changes and you're just going to be the same as you were yesterday. So pick one thing you heard today and try it out. Implement it.
So awesome. Vance, if people want to connect with you, where should we send them?
Best bet is my website, which is deliverservicenow.com. Or if they want to follow me on LinkedIn, I do a weekly newsletter there, and I think I am the only Vance Morris on LinkedIn, so feel free to connect with me there.
So awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
I appreciate it, Joe. Thanks for having me.
When I think about just those little extra touches, when we first started Next Level Practice, our first version of our membership community aimed at people that had solo practices. Now that's one of our tracks within our whole membership ecosystem. We would send a welcome box that had a Practice the Practice journal, it had branded tissue paper, it had a pop socket, it had pens, it had a welcome kind of thing kind of walking through. And then when the pandemic hit, I had a bunch of our audio engineers that actually went to the community college here in addition. And so packing up 50 or 100 of these boxes, they would all come to my house. I'd buy everybody lunch. We'd pack them up and mail them all out. And just realized like that's just a lot of work for me to do. And so we stopped doing it during the pandemic. But now I'm like, man, maybe we should go back to that, because if someone's buying an annual subscription, that's going to be $1,900, and to send out a really sweet $50 or $100 welcome packet. Even thinking about how with all of our consulting clients and podcast clients, we send a thank you package at the end of the year. And this year we said to them, are you more of a foodie? Are you more into coffee? Or are you more into chocolate? And then we sent them a welcome basket based on that. And then we have this local either olive oil or local coffee or local chocolate. It kind of makes me think like maybe that should just be standard for all of our long-term clients, whether they're in group practice boss, if they're in the Practice Academy, if they're in one-on-one consulting. So really, Vance, got my wheels turning in a number of areas, and then thinking through print mail for our own clients. I think that's some good ideas to send out postcards when we're launching something new. So a lot from my list today. Would love to hear about your list as well. What did you take away from this? We also couldn't do this show without amazing sponsors like Therapy Notes. Therapy Notes is the best electronic health records out there. They will help you switch over from your current EHR. They also give you 2 months for free or just money off if you use promo code Joe at checkout. They are phenomenal. They help with automated billing. It's going to make it easier to outsource your billing. So many reasons to switch to Therapy Notes. Just head on over to therapynotes.com, read about it, and at checkout, just use promo code Joe. Thank you so much for letting me into your ears and into your brain. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Special thanks to the band Silence is Sexy for that intro music, and this podcast is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information in regard to the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the host, the producers, the publishers, or guests are rendering legal, accounting, clinical, or other professional information. If you want a professional, you should find one.